Titans on the beat.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today I got Noah back on the channel, man. Just like old times. But this time, instead of talking about fantasy sports, we're going to talk about the Wizards. And we're going to title these hopefully bi-weekly vids MustSeeDMV Wiz Talk with Nati and Noah. And it should be a fun time. We had a couple questions lined up, and you know, it's always fun talking about the hometown team, the hometown basketball team. And with that being said, Noah, do you want to plug your also familiar fantasy platform that we talked about with the fantasy football videos before we get started with the Wizards talk?
Sure, just real quick. As you know, I'm the CEO of SportAI, and we're democratizing the fantasy sports analytics process. Through a mobile app integrated with artificial intelligence, you can optimize your lineups, and it's going to help anyone understand sports analytics. So the channel, you know, a lot of people have been checking out SportAI, and we've been making a lot of big jumps here, and we're excited. We're right now in basketball season. A lot of people been wanting those breakout picks. Most notably, we sent out that pick with LaMelo Ball the hours before his career night. Yeah. So people have been winning in basketball just like they did in football. So as you see, I'm now at SportAI HQ, one of our quiet rooms. So the video quality is up so you can hear me. Yeah. And yeah, there'll be a link in the description in the bio if you want to sign up for our closed alpha. We're launching soon, and we are selecting the select few that'll get early access. So sign up and at least get the breakout picks right away.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully we have some fantasy basketball previews, you know, to come on the channel with Noah, giving you the expertise that you guys all deserve at this point. But with that being said, let's get into the Wizards, the Wiz Kids. First question, what are your thoughts on Bradley Beal being named a starter on the Eastern Conference All-Stars team?
Absolutely well-deserved. I mean, Bradley Beal is arguably the best scoring shooting guard outside of James Harden in the entire league, averaging 30+ again. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, if you look at the Wizards right now, they've turned their season around. I mean, Russell Westbrook is a big part of it, but Bradley Beal is putting the team on his back. No doubt in my mind, deserves that all-star starter spot.
Yeah, man. I mean, to put it succinctly, I completely agree. I mean, he's averaging 33 points a game, averaging 33 points, leading scorer in the NBA right now, I believe. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, so it isn't like he's just scoring. And, you know, this is all while commanding like the most attention from opposing defenses every single night. So imagine in football, you get double teamed every freaking week and you just continue to produce, right? Like sort of like a Michael Thomas sort of thing from last 2 seasons ago now. But yeah, he definitely deserves it, especially with Kyrie being his backcourt mate. And look for big things out of Beal out of the All-Star game as well. I don't just see him being, you know, a starter and just being satisfied with that. I see him, you know, balling out during the game. But with the other question that I have, though, with his other backcourt mate in DC, that is Russell Westbrook. What are your thoughts on Russell Westbrook's resurgence over the last couple of weeks, right? Like last night, I believe he had 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, so a triple-double against the Nuggets. And we'll get more into, you know, the Wizards as a whole, but what are your thoughts on his resurgence for the last couple of weeks? And do you like what you see out of him? And has his recent performance changed your mind about, you know, the whole Wall Westbrook trade that happened early in the season? Because I know a lot of people, including myself, thought that the Rockets just fleeced the Wizards initially, right? With Wall balling out, the Rockets being on a tear early in the season, and Russell Westbrook looking like a shell of himself early on. So what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think definitely this is a classic case of the media really manipulating the narrative, right? Russell Westbrook in his down stretch was still averaging nearly a triple-double, still a valuable contributor to the Wizards. And the one thing is, you know, sometimes there's a skill that people forget, availability. John Wall has been on and off, still kind of injury prone, you know, hasn't played a whole lot of games for the Rockets. As a result, you see the Rockets, they're struggling. I mean, they've released DeMarcus Cousins. They're really, I think, kind of consider a rebuild at this point. They want to trade Victor Oladipo, even though they just got him, because he's very similar to John Wall, on and off, injury prone. So Westbrook's been more available, and that's sometimes just more important. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you could be a superstar, maybe play like 45 games, 50 games a season. That's not going to get it done. I'd rather have Westbrook, he's not necessarily past his prime, but he's definitely not the triple-double machine that he once was, partially because you have Bradley Beal commanding a lot of the ball. But recently, I think Westbrook has really started to adapt to his new team. People need to give him time. That's the thing. Another thing about the media is that, you expect Westbrook to be averaging 30, 10, and 10 for a brand new team, whole new system.
COVID, short off season, yeah.
Exactly. So with COVID and the short off season and everything that's been going on, he's been adapting pretty well. We see more and more importantly, he's playing some of the best defense that he's played since his prime Thunder days. So if you look at his defensive rating, it's actually the highest it's been since 2017, which is really a good sign because the Wizards are terrible in defense. And a big reason why we even pulled the upset last night against the Nuggets, for example, is that he was able to absolutely shut down Jamal Murray. And the fact that you had to get Campazzo the last time or game-winning 3 is proof that you're shutting out some of their best players. Jamal Murray was getting clamped. He had to pass it over to Campazzo. Of course, he missed. So Westbrook's
a bunch of wide open guys on the Nuggets too.
Exactly. Considering Thomas Bryant's out, and we've had at a stretch where there were almost half the team was out with COVID, Westbrook has really, I think, met expectations. Once the hate wave, for some reason there's a huge hate wave always for Westbrook. Once that starts to die down, and Wizards fans kind of see through the smoke per se, they'll see that the Westbrook's not only made an impact recently, but will make an impact for the rest of the season.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like early in the season, I looked at his efficiency and it wasn't super hot. And I will say this: yes, his stats were there. He was averaging 20 points early in the season, so he wasn't like a slouch by any means. But with Russell Westbrook, it's always about efficiency, right? Like he can jack up a bunch of shots, miss a bunch of shots, still get you the points, whether it be because he drives to the lane and draws fouls and shoots a lot of free throws, or makes a 3 every now and then. But now I think we've seen a different Russell Westbrook. It's not just the amount of points that he's scoring, it's the fact that he is consistent throughout the course of a game. He's playing good defense, he's passing the ball well, which we've seen out of him in recent years, but less so early in the season, and not turning the ball over as much as he did early in the season. So I think Russell Westbrook definitely has a resurgence going on right now, and it is a big part as to why the Wizards are winning the last couple of weeks and have won 6 out of 7 games, I believe. So I definitely like that, what we've seen out of Westbrook, and I think the Rockets and the Wizards both benefited in this trade. Initially, after the trade was completed, I thought it was like a push trade in the sense that both teams got equal value, in my opinion. Early in the season, I thought the Rockets sort of fleeced, maybe not completely fleeced, but sort of fleeced the Wizards because of the fact that they also got a first-round pick as well with John Wall. But now I'm going back to where I was in the beginning, and it's pretty much, an even trade. And I like seeing what we're seeing out of Westbrook, and hopefully it continues, man. Hopefully it continues. Talk a little bit more about the Wizards' chances going into the postseason, but hopefully with Westbrook at least it continues. And moving on from Westbrook and Bradley Beal, the all-star duo that we have in the backcourt, I do want to get to Davis Bertans because I don't know about you, but he's been really, really disappointing. And how many of these contracts are we going to dish out to Wizards players who somewhat overproduce in a particular year, and then we just dish out a bunch of money to them? Do you think we can already call that Davis Bertans contract extension over the summer for $80 million over 5 years a bust?
Oh my God. Don't get me started on Bertans. That's the thing, that even as soon as that contract was announced, anyone who knows basketball is shaking their head, because Davis Bertans will never be worth that money. I mean,
let me say this: it's an Ernie Grunfeld type of move. Like, if we're gonna be honest, with the previous year.
Y'all can record this clip and maybe laugh at me, but anything short of 24 points a game by Bertans is literally, he needs to get 24 points a game to be worth the contract, right? Because Bertans is a terrible defender. He's one of the worst net defensive efficiencies in the entire league. It constantly gets exploited. I mean, you saw against the Lakers, LeBron was having his way. There was one point where LeBron's just dribbling the corner like 2K, and Davis Bertans standing there with his hands just in front of him like he was going to do anything. Bertans only shoots threes. There was one stretch, incredibly, in the past 5 games where he took only 2 mid-range shots. Everything else was a 3. So he's a 3 and no D. So, he occasionally will go off, right? He had that 2-game stretch where he had 30 back-to-back 30-point games. But you can't expect a player to be getting 8, 9 threes a game. That's just impossible. So what I don't understand the logic of signing Bertans to that massive $80 million deal when at best he's a role player. I mean, look at him. They're trying to put him in the starting lineup, and he just contributes so much negative impact to the defensive end. They have to bench him.
Yeah.
They have to switch on the lineup. It's creating a lot of chemistry issues because now we're actually seeing that with Mo Wagner, he's not getting the minutes that he would have gotten if Bertans wasn't oversized big deal. And now we got Alex Len clogging up the middle. They're both good big men with Robin Lopez as well, but Mo Wagner needed to take a step forward, and I think he earned that chance. You've seen his relatively low minutes that he has good efficiency. But Bertans eating that up, and we see Troy Brown's now irrelevant in the rotation, and he's a good player. We need a well-rounded first-round pick, well-rounded playmaking wing. So we're going to bench him for Bertans, who first of all is not even young. He's well into his 20s and is now at the peak of his prime. And his prime is what, 12 points a game, 80 million? It's one of those things where, similar to Nicholas Batum for the Hornets, it was so much expectation that he could not live up to. You know, Batum is a solid player that gets, I mean, obviously he's way better than Bertans. And even he got paid less than Bertans. So it was a terrible deal from day one. Like I said, unless Bertans turns around tomorrow and becomes the greatest stretch forward all time, he's not going to be living up to that contract for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. You sort of hinted at this, but for all the good people out there who don't already know, so Davis Bertans had hit a career high 9 threes in a game against the Nuggets early in the season, right? A couple weeks back. Had 35 total points in that one. And is still averaging only 11 points and 3 rebounds per game this season. 11 points and 3 rebounds. He's not a guard. He's not a small guard that's not going to get you any rebounds or is not supposed to get you any rebounds. He's a pretty big forward, right? And you already touched on this. His defense is not great. So when you're only relying on his three-point shooting, which is actually not as great as it was last year, right? Which is understandable because he was one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA last year. But 37% from the three-point line, I don't think that's cutting it because a lot of very good players who have other parts of the game that are very well-rounded can shoot 37%, right? Like LeBron James, for example. I know he's LeBron James, right? But at the same time, he even could shoot 35, 36% from three. So Davis Bertans definitely a disappointment this year. I mean, he arrived to the season out of shape. He didn't really put in the work in the offseason. I get it was a very short offseason, but for the Wizards, I mean, they still had some months, right? It wasn't like the Lakers, the Heat, who didn't have any time. So, yeah, definitely a disappointment for the Latvian Laser, man. And just another one of these signings in the offseason, re-signings by the Wizards that just leaves you shaking your head after it happens initially and then especially down the line, man. It's just really, really disappointing. And, I mean, he's stunning the development of a lot of young players on the roster right now. You talked about Troy Brown. I like what we're seeing out of Hachimura, but maybe if, the Latvian Laser wasn't back in town, maybe Hachimura could just completely tear the league apart or tear the league, that could happen. But no, that hasn't, obviously. And hopefully Davis Bertans, though, improves, much like we saw out of Russell Westbrook, although again, doesn't play great defense and isn't well-rounded in other aspects of his game. So we'll see, man. But I do want to get to the Wizards as a whole. Like I said earlier, do you think the Wizards, having won 6 out of the last 7 games, do you think they have a real shot of getting back into playoff contention in the Eastern Conference, either being in the play-in games or, potentially being in the playoffs outright? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it should be an interesting race in the East because we have a lot of, coming into the All-Star break, we have a lot of special teams. Definitely passing expectations. You have the Hornets, the Magic, even the Knicks. All of them are technically in the playoffs right now. They're anywhere from the 5th to the 8th seed. The Wizards, I think, have a shot there. The one thing that I will say that concerns me is that each of the other teams has a legitimate reason that they can continue to surge in the second half of the season. For the Knicks, you have Alfred Payton, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley. They're 3 point guards that haven't been playing super well. Derrick Rose came in, but they're improving. And they're already a playoff team with great defense. They're top 10 in the league in defensive rating. So at this point, they can only go up from here, which means that they're almost a playoff lock. I can't believe I'm saying the New York Knicks are a playoff lock in the East, but here we are,
Led by
2021.
Julius Randle. Yeah.
Exactly.
2021.
Julius Randle's proving that he is future star, if not already a star. I'm so happy for him. He came into the league with a lot of potential, a lot of injuries at first was derailing him, and the Pelicans. Now we're like, oh, maybe he's an inefficient guy, but now Julius Randle's legitimized himself as a future star or current star. The Magic, they are. I mean, speaking of injuries, my lord, they have a lot of injuries. Markov falls after the season. Cole Anthony not coming back till after the All-Star break, but they're still in playoff contention because they have such a deep team. They have a lot of guys stepping up. Even Dwayne Bacon, like people that no one even knows about, Okeke, Birch, and they've seen the chemistry. They have a chance, and I think they can only get better from here as they get healthier. And then the Hornets, Airbnb, LaMelo Ball, and Miles Bridges, so you have the young core and a good future there. So regardless of what happens with the Hornets in the playoff future, they have one of the best young cores in the league because they got PJ Washington and a lot of other young players as well. Now to our Wizards. The Wizards are in a weird spot right now where I think they're overperforming their base expectations. Like we said, the scoring is still hiding the fact that we have one of the worst defenses in the league. We rank in the bottom 25 for almost every defensive category that matters.
Again.
So we can't keep scoring 120, 130 points per game. That's just impossible. That's unsustainable. So what we need to happen is we need the Latvian laser to become the Latvian bench warmer, and we need to give more minutes to Troy Brown. You saw last night against the Nuggets, Troy Brown was getting more minutes. He got around 19, 20 minutes, played excellent defense, was a good playmaker, and we won the game. We need to keep rewarding the players that are working hard and our young core. We need more minutes from Mo Wagner. We can't have this weird 3-center carousel where Land might be benched, Wagner might be benched. This is not 1990.
Yeah.
We need to either cut Len or let him sit and let Mo and Lopez play. Those are the guys that fit really well with the system and help move the ball. Len is very slow. He's a traditional center and can't keep up with the flow of the game, which is what the Wizards need to do. If we can do those things, then we have a shot to make the playoffs. But right now, I'm really worried because, Scott Brooks is just not the coach to get it done. He refuses to make a set rotation. And with Ish Smith out now too, Raul Neto's a good step up, but we need more consistency and build the chemistry between the bench unit and the starting unit. We can't keep going in Bertans, switching out Hachimura to the small forward, power forward. We need to let them grow and develop. And I think Scott Brooks, even if they make the playoffs, they still should fire him because he's not developing the team the way it should be developed. So the Wizards have, I think, a good chance to make the playoffs, but there's a lot more concerns than the other all-star teams in the East.
Yeah, man. You pretty much touched on everything. To keep it short and sweet, though, I do think the Wizards, unlike, if you asked me a month ago, I would have said no shot. But now I think the Wizards have a legit shot of getting back into playoff contention and making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. The biggest concern for me is that a lot of teams, in the 6 to 9 to 10 range in the Eastern Conference are very crowded, right? Like very clamped up together. And, it's going to be tough to be one of those teams that makes the playoffs. Although I will say, man, the Knicks in 2021, we're claiming that they're going to be a lock. It's crazy. Julius Randle, man, completely unlocked like his potential in New York with a completely new coaching staff, completely new destination, and love to see what we're seeing out of him. But in terms of the Wizards, again, like what I'm seeing out of Russell Westbrook, like what I'm seeing out of Bradley Beal, like what I'm seeing out of Hachimura, he is Davis Bertans. If Davis Bertans had maybe not 20 points on average per game, but like what he had close to last year at least, I think the Wizards, they're missing that like consistent 3-point shooting. And like if Davis Bertans is that guy, then look out for the Wizards. Even if they make the playoffs, I think they can make a run. I really do, if they make it. Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah.
You possibly. If Bertans has the second half that he had last year, where he's averaging near 16 points a game, just that will spread the floor. And with Westbrook and Hachimura being great slashers, it spreads and opens lanes to the basket, which they desperately need. And if Bertans isn't the answer, who will? We got to find someone either to trade your free agency. There's not many free agents that I think could be added to the team and make any value at this point, but we got to find a way because I mean, even one more thing about the Knicks we forgot, Mitchell Robinson isn't even playing right now. If he comes back, like the Knicks are a threat again. So the Wizards need to find a way. Like I said, the X factor is either the Latvian laser needs to be the Latvian laser or he needs to become the Latvian bench. Because we need to find a more consistent forward option that is not named Hachimura, especially with Brian out for the season. So,
Agreed. Moving on to the next question. I usually like to save this question as the last one on all the videos, whether it be about the Washington football team on here, which post fire content, go check those out. But the Wizards, the Nationals, whatever the case may be. What are your thoughts on the future of this Washington Wizards franchise? Will they ever get right, man? I'm tired. I'm tired of this. Every single year in our lifetimes, pretty much the Wizards have not been good. I mean, they made the playoffs a couple years, but they haven't been a consistent winner, right? Which is, a problem with the football team here in BC. So, what are your thoughts on the franchise? And do you think that if we don't make the playoffs at least once in the next 2 years, and they're just going to blow everything up?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So we got to look at, if we want to talk about a good future for the Wizards, we got to look at who is the future of the Wizards. Bradley Beal's 27. He's in the middle of his prime. He's not a super uber athlete type of guy, so he has a longer prime than others. So he's going to be there for the next couple of years at minimum. Westbrook's older, will be a nice transition. But we got to look at 3 key players, in my opinion. Rui Hachimura, Denny Avdija, and you maybe have 4. You have the Thomas Bryant, Troy Brown, but they're not really franchise players. You need to look at the 2.
Great defense with Bryant, yeah.
Denny Avdija and Rui Hachimura. So the thing is, can you really consider Rui Hachimura a superstar? That's going to be tough. Is he a good starter? Is he going to be an all-star? Is he a superstar? And that's the thing. We need to find out. Coach Brooks is just not letting us find out. I think that what Hachimura has shown is that he can be a PG or a Kawhi type player. He can be a superstar. Like, frankly, he can be a superstar. But he's getting so suppressed in that roster, he's not letting it a chance to grow. If you want to develop your future, because, I mean, let's be honest here, even if we make the playoffs, I don't think we can make that much of a run. There's too much in the heavy in the East. That I don't know how much of a chance we have.
Well, we can say this: we both don't think they're gonna make the finals or even the East Conference
nothing
finals.
like that. Of course, yeah. Yeah. But then that's where Denny Avdija comes in. I really think he's a talented player, but I think he was the wrong draft choice for the Wizards. He's very similar to Troy Brown. He's a point forward type of guy. Okay shooting, more of a jack of all trades, master of none, right? And he came in, I don't know why, he just started drawing comparisons to Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is another level. Even when before he got drafted, he's a better shooter, better playmaker, better everything. Denny is still really raw, and you see that Scott Brooks is trying to start him and trying to play him, but he has not done well. He's only a rookie, of course.
Yeah.
So then what do we have with Denny? Because Denny is someone that's raw and eventually will need to be someone that's going to need to be the lead playmaker of a team. With Bradley Beal and Westbrook, I don't know if he's going to get that chance in the next couple of years. And Troy Brown, as a result, you see him just sitting on the bench. So was Denny the right choice, or do we give in to the media hype? And I think that was what worries me. The Wizards never make a choice that makes sense. It's always a guy that they kind of know about. The only exception, Rui was someone that wasn't necessarily super hyped. That was a great pick. Denny, I don't know if he's a great fit. Troy Brown, I don't know if he's a great fit. So we have all these first-round picks. I mean, Beal, we've become a superstar for us. But long-term future, I think we have the future to be an average team unless we blow it up or get something significant. Because Thomas Bryant, Abdijah, Troy Brown, all these young guys, Mo Wagner, they're average. They're going to be average players. Like they're not going to be. They're going to be. Denny has a chance to maybe be an all-star, but they're all, at the end of the day, not very special players. Only special player we have right now is Rui. And if you compare ourselves to another comparable, the Hornets are a comparable team to where we are. We're a middling team. But look at the direct comparison. Who do they have under the age of 23? They have Miles Bridges, they have PJ Washington, they have LaMelo Ball, they have Devontae Graham, relatively young. He's a little bit older, 25, but he's still young. I mean, you can go on and on with the future, about the Hornets' future. because each of those core players, Ball, Bridges, Washington, can be all-stars one day. That's 3 all-stars at minimum on a team. The Wizards, you have Rui and maybe Denny. And so it's murky waters ahead. It really is going to depend on what we do this year, this offseason. If we can get a decent player in the draft, then I think that will change the future. So that's why I really actually hope we don't make the playoffs, because I want us to get a better draft pick and not be like what the Hornets were past couple seasons until recently, where they constantly were getting, you know, pick 15, pick 20, and then I mean you have a chance to get a decent player, but not really. You want a franchise-changing player, and I think the Wizards really messed up last year's draft. I think there were a lot of players that we could have gotten. I mean, Halliburton for one, that would have changed the course of this franchise, and I really don't think Denny is the answer. He's going to be a good player, but I don't think of him as the answer for the Wizards. So the future is murky, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The future is murky. Although on your sort of like tank for a better draft pick sort of thing, like I don't agree. This is not the NFL, bro. Like I understand, you know, that philosophy, but when it comes to the NBA, literally it's more of a crapshoot in my opinion, even in the first round, than like the NFL.
Absolutely.
You just have a lot of young, unproven guys, especially now with the one and dones, and you know, even guys who spent maybe like 2 years at college. Like I just don't think, I don't agree with that philosophy, at least when it comes to the NBA. But I will say, yeah, the future of the Wizards, very, very murky, as it always is. The difference, though, between us and the Hornets, you brought up the Hornets comparison. I will say, though, that we have a Bradley Beal. They don't have a Bradley Beal, at least yet, right? Like LaMelo Ball could be that down the line. But I just don't think they have that right now. So I think there's a difference there. But, you know, we're pretty much, unless we trade Bradley Beal, we're pretty much stuck where we are. Because Russell Westbrook, I don't think any team is going to trade for him at this point. I mean, he's getting up there in age, has a $40+ million, you know, cap hit pretty much. Yeah, like he's not, I don't think he's going to be traded again until maybe later in his career. And if he does, we're probably going to have to give up draft compensation just to like trade him away. So I just don't see that happening. I do think that Rui Hachimura will be a star in no time. I really believe he has all the traits you want out of a player, all the you know, the hype and the recognition as well. So if you combine all those factors, I think he will one day, possibly, hopefully, with Brooks no longer being the coach, be unleashed, right? Like Randall similarly in New York, and really be a star on this team and really help Bradley Beal. I mean, he's already helping him out right now, but help him out even more once he gets all that unlocked potential out of him. But yeah, man, Thomas Bryant, not great defender. So like, I think we're probably gonna have to add another rim protector there. I know we have Alex Len, who, I mean, he's a Terp, sure, but like he isn't like what you want as a long-term solution at the position right now. And so we shall see, man. Hopefully they get right, you know, they continue the winning sort of ways that they've had established over the last couple of weeks and really get into the playoffs and give DC, you know, the playoff team that we deserve, man. It's been way too long. I've mentioned this on I don't know how many videos now, but it's been way too long, you know, since the Wizards have been in the playoffs, and it's about time that the Wizards finally capture the rightful place there and give DC a basketball team to actually, you know, be proud about for once in some years. But the last question of the stream, moving away from the Wizards, I do want to get your thoughts on who is the front runner for the NBA, the National Basketball Association, most valuable player at this point.
No doubt in my mind, I can answer right away. Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers. Anyone else who says LeBron or Jokic needs to leave, they need to leave the conversation. Embiid is playing statistically the best basketball a center has played since Shaquille O'Neal. That is how, I don't think people realize the impact Embiid has on the floor. He is literally the key to the 76ers. He's one of the best defenders, if not the best defender in the league, outside his teammate Ben Simmons. An elite scorer, and more importantly, a leader. You see in moments, there's a key game a couple of weeks ago where they were down by almost 25 at half, and Embiid came out on fire, and they came back to win against the Pacers. They were down by 25 at half, and they won the game. That was the game I'm like, that's his MVP game. There is no one else in the league. dare I say, even Giannis or LeBron, who has shown they could do it this year. Embiid is averaging. I mean, this year, I haven't seen it. I mean, yeah, maybe in the past, but LeBron, Giannis has not had a game where they were down that badly and they made that big of a comeback. And Embiid, most importantly, stayed very healthy. He's only missed a few games this year just for maintenance, but he's been a force. And he could finish the season averaging 30 and 12, which hasn't been done by a center since Shaquille O'Neal, that's what I'm saying. The impact's crazy. And he's such a good defender. He's improved his shot game, and if you notice, his playmaking has improved too. There are multiple times where he gets double teamed, even triple teamed. Like a couple nights ago, he got triple teamed by the Raptors in the post. Instead of trying to barrel his way through, which he could do, that's the thing, he could do it, but it's going to add wear and tear, and it's going to get hurt. Instead, you see him making the vision, the underarm pass to Danny Green to Tobias Harris, which is why they're having some of the best years of their career. Embiid is making them better. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind Embiid will be the MVP this year. Only thing stopping him is if he does get hurt, but he really is being careful with his actions so that he remains durable. No doubt in mind, Joel Embiid.
I will say though, it's crazy. Paul and I talked about this on the live stream on Wednesday, my other good friend, and it's crazy because LeBron, for how many years this man has been robbed of a MVP award? We got to be honest, right? Because we're never gonna disrespect LeBron.
He should have
on
at least
channel.
6. He should have 6.
Yeah. And it's crazy though, because I would have said, like, for example, last year LeBron should have won it. Giannis winning it is just people just want a new guy, right? Like to crown.
That was questionable. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have won it.
Yeah, man. And if you consider most valuable player, I'm sorry, LeBron was that last year, but even with AD on his team. But this year, man, I mean, it's Joel Embiid.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy because, last couple of years, the 76ers have sort of been struggling, underperforming, dare I say, and Joel Embiid early in his career dealt with a lot of injuries and didn't really get starting minutes until later, right? And obviously we had the whole trust the process thing, but man, oh man, Joel Embiid is having a season, bro. Like 31 points on average, 11 rebounds as well. And this is all while Ben Simmons hasn't improved at all in my eyes. So Embiid is carrying a 76ers team to number one in the Eastern Conference, right? Even ahead of the Nets, ahead of the Bucks, all these great teams in the East. Admittedly less so than the West, right? But on the 76ers, number one in the East, right? After a year of pretty much struggles last year. Number one, without Ben Simmons improving too much. And, at the same time, he also has a completely new coaching staff, right? Completely new coaching staff. And there was a COVID-19 short offseason as well. And he's balling out, man. He's always been a great defender, but you add in the 31 points and 11 rebounds as well this season, man. I just don't think, LeBron, if you asked me about 3.5 weeks ago, I would have said LeBron James, to be honest. I'm just going to say that. But the last couple of weeks, the Lakers have been struggling. LeBron James just hasn't been his usual self, which, give him time, he will be. And especially in the postseason, he will be. But I just think Joel Embiid actually rightfully deserves it this year. And, Joel Embiid for MVP. But with that being said, I do want to wrap up the video. It's been nice. It's been really good having you on, Noah, on the first edition of MustSeeDMV Wiz Talk with Nati and Noah. And with that being said, please make sure to go like and comment this video, and also make sure to subscribe to DMV Sports Zone channel. We try to post fire content in here as much as possible. Also, go give our Instagram page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone, a follow, where we try to post fire content on there as much as possible as well. And go make sure to subscribe to alerts from SportAI, and I'll make sure to post the link in the description. And yeah, man, I'm hoping for more of these, hopefully we can make this like a bi-weekly thing and maybe add in some fantasy basketball content as well. But thank you so much, bro, for joining. And any last words before we completely leave?
I'm excited for the Wizards, and it's good to talk about basketball and good to have something good to talk about. I mean, we talk about maybe the future is murky, but at least right here, right now, we can be proud of the Wizards, and they've done a lot of great things considering all the COVID-19. So just reminder everyone, wear a mask, stay safe, and let's hope the Wizards do some good stuff for this upcoming season.
For sure, all great points. And again, with that being said, Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great Friday, great weekend, and peace out.